This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za. Power Talk, the Culture Corner.
Mina ngumpele ugodide untuli umphemba undlela kaSompisi sothole kudukazi uyincwayo khuboni Sompisi owaphemba ngamakhanda amadoda abanye bephemba ngomlilo nina baselenga enabonakala ngefu elezintuli langa. That's my name, that's who I am. The warmest welcome to you, Mkhulu Nsingiza, a culture expert. We are here to talk about Izithakazelo, Diretlo, totems and clan names. And I'll tell you why we're having this conversation. I think it's a really beautiful part of African culture. We see people being named and praised when they graduate from university, when they get promotions at work, at weddings, and very, very solemn occasions such as funerals. And it's such an intrinsic part of so many of our cultures in Southern Africa. It speaks to your lineage, your heritage, your identity, but sometimes I worry, Babu Mkhulu Nsingiza, whether it's alienating for somebody who doesn't have a very close relationship with their paternal family and they can't name all their ancestors and forebears. Does it make them less of a person? So let's talk about Izithakazelo, Diretlo and totems, and make sure you can also come and tell us yours on 0861 987 000. The warmest welcome to you, Mkhulu Nsingiza.
Thokoza, and welcome to the listeners as well.
Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk about what these are. Diretlo, Izithakazelo.
Zigabili Ndlovukazi, kuneyibongo.
Okay.
That is a historical record of a particular family or of a particular kingdom. So, Izibongo neithakazelo ihlukile. Izithakazelo, I can, write Izithakazelo ngawe if I know you very well, because that's what they articulate Izithakazelo. Usukumthaka umuntu ngezenzo zakhe, character yakhe, everything yakhe. So, when you talk about Izibongo, you are talking about, the family history, the family tree that explains even where you come from before you find yourself here in the south.
So,
Izibongo zilanda from Le Pezulu, in the north, before they actually finally landed here.
So, simply put, if somebody says to you, "Sithini isibongo sakho or ibongo zakho," your response is?
Mele ukhulume amagama amakhosi or einhloko zakini zalelo khaya.
And then
mina ngizalwa ungwadi masumba, all the the ancestors that came before your father.
And then when somebody says to you, "Zithini izithakazelo zakho,"
la emalokishini asenazi izithakazelo. Why? Because it's no longer a culture that is popular. Kepha, emakhaya and rural, South Africa, izithakazelo sekhona. Abafana, they witness and, notice each other. Then, if there's something wonderful you've done in the community, somebody will write Izithakazelo, ngawe, ukuthi wakhombisa ubuqhawe or wakhombisa ubugwala, something like that. So Izithakazelo will then articulate exactly who you are and what you did, with regard to, to your life in the community.
So I've just read out just an extract of Izithakazelo Zagiti Kwampele Omphemba Ogodite, and there's a sentence here that I don't like, but my father and my uncles and trying to tell me a little bit about our family history, warriors through ndlela kaSompisi, abantu bentuli, as there was a cattle run, bazositshela ngokuthi thina esikhanda thina ophemba ngamakhanda wamadoda. So there's a reference there to cannibalism, and no.
No. It's not like cannibalism, because kusikwe ku-expresswa the warrior spirit, of some of your ancestors, because I remember that some of these Izibongo were written during the time of war.
Okay.
We were in a war. situation, in our country. So there was a war for umhlaba. There was war for land. The more land you have, the more people you have, the more people you can feed. Nobody will starve, who is under you. So they were written then. So it mustn't be taken in a literal sense.
Okay.
Although sometimes some of those things happen.
So it's quite poetic when you're expressing these clan names.
Yes, and because the most important thing, it is the food of the soul. Because when it's like a prayer to us. As an example, ekhaya before kwenziwa umsebenzi othize kuhlatshwa la ekhaya kuba nembongi esukumayo ibize wonke amakhosi asekhaya. So that is a prayer for the family to invoke those spirits for them to come and listen and hear ukuthi inkulumo ithini, why are you doing a certain ceremony.
Mama Nsingiza, let's talk about other cultures and traditions, because the Tswanas, and I have a Tswana mother, they have diretlo, and it's a similar kind of principle, but there they base these names on an animal totem. So a person will rattle through the litany of names, and then somebody will say Dau or Ngwe or something like that. So for them, it's something very, very lodged to nature.
No, it's that is done everywhere. Amongst the African people. As an example, Bagwanjov. Yes. They are totem Mindlov. Yes. Then you'll find the Dlamini, are named after my warthogs. So it happens all over. That is a completely different thing in terms of totem like her.
Ndela uphinde futhi oDlamini are named after warthogs.
Yes, oDlamini. Ilengulube zidlemini.
Oh.
Yes.
That is so interesting. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about those totems and why they are also important markers of identity.
They are, because they link us directly to nature. That we and nature are one. So the minute, we forget about all these cultural, aspects, that is when we remove ourselves, from nature. So that was a confirmation that, nature and the people are one.
So let's look at other traditions as well. In the Xhosa tradition, and here you must really help me because I'm not sure if I'm saying the correct thing. I will hear colleagues whose surnames are one thing, but they're never referred to by it. So the closest example I can think of is former President Nelson Mandela, and everybody referred to him as Madiba, standard. It's something that they do a lot in the Eastern Cape.
Yes. Oh, no, that is also done everywhere. Like a Madiba, it's a clan name. Okay. It's a certain clan that is named Madiba. They can have a different, surnames, based on the heads of the families, but the underlying principle is that, they are bounded by that name. As an example, Tina, Abakashongwane, Sibizana, Ongwane, Songe. You can have, Ushongwane, Ube Sangweni, Ube Mutiwan, Gepa, the underlying force, Ungwane lo, as a principle or an ancestor that, recently was involved either in the formation or grouping and mobilizing us, as a nation. So it happens with all cultures. That is why it's common. African culture is common. The only difference, is based on geographical position. Right. Then Abantu, they have certain nuances whereby there will be a slight difference. But if you look at, the basic principle is the same. We are one people.
When you say it's common African culture, do you mean it's common African culture in South Africa or Southern Africa, or this is common practice across the continent?
Across the continent, across the continent, those are similarities all over, Africa. You find that we do almost the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, we've got a call coming through from Johnny in Mabopane. Abu Johnny, who mispronounced what? It must have been me.
Can you call that word again? You're saying you are talking about dingy?
No, I can't what you're going to do.
No. Listen to me. Diretto. Go down.
Diretto.
Yes, diretto.
Diretto.
Yes, the one you are saying.
Diretto.
Diretto, that's when you take mala mohodu and chop into pieces. That's diretto, that one.
Diretto.
Yes, the T-O.
Okay.
So those are praises.
Tell us what you think about them. Diretto.
Yes.
No, thank you for the correction.
They define you who you are.
Yeah.
Yes. They define you.
Hey, Warikitlo fonela lerato mo that Zulu guys. I'm going to sort her out.
Mine are those, you know those like the Baguinas.
Hey.
They've got words you can't say in the media.
Why?
You with me? No, they've got words that you can't say in the media.
Like provocative, rude words or what?
Exactly.
So do you also come from really strong people?
Vulgarish, and vulgarish. So you can't go there. I can't say it in the media.
I got you. Okay, Abu Johnny, thank you for calling through. And my apologies to all our Botswana fam. Asidiretlo, kidireto, and ekikopa le re phegele malamogodu ka diretlo. There we go. Got you.
Okay.
Nyabonga, thank you so much. Okay, so thank you so much. Hi, Mkhulu was fucking king in manje when I was correct. We've also got a call coming through from Stephen in just a second. I can see it's coming through. Stephen, hello.
Hello, good day. First time to speaking to you, Lerato. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I just wanted to ask our guest there, how can I distinguish between the culture and tradition? Because it looks like this word is being used interchangeably. So sometimes a person will say that my culture, and again, we in Setswana, we have got that thing that the culture that we use to reproduce things and all those other things. It's also called culture. And I wanted actually to say to diretto and diretto is two different things, but that guy is correct. So diretto we talk about now what we are eating. So
yes.
I'm sorry, but you are not so far.
Thank
but
you.
I wanted to know the difference between culture and tradition because it is sometimes making people in town.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I think it's a valid question. Mkhulu, what do you have to say to that?
Yes, culture, Njovukazi, it's something, that is a foundation of a particular community.
Yes.
And something that never changes over the ages. As an example, culture embelego, where you inform the ancestors about a new born baby in the family.
Yes.
You present that to, that will never change. The tradition, it's not cast in stone, it changes. Ifana nani nalento imkhuba.
Yes.
Abantu, develop certain imikhuba, then, that is then interpreted as a culture. That changes, with time, but culture stays, the way it is. You can never, in the olden times, there was this thing they called the rite of passage.
Yes.
That is an African culture, meaning that for each and every stage, there's got to be a ceremony of acknowledging, that you thanking the ancestors and the creator that you've reached this stage. Now you can graduate to another level. That is a culture, and that is common amongst all Africans all over. Yes.
So somebody can't just walk into a room, misbehave, or offend people, and then say it's my culture. It's your behavior. It's your personality.
No, certainly, and that is mostly abused. People use culture, to abuse and take advantage of the situation. There are so many things that, especially things that we have learned through the Western culture that have been infused into the African culture, where, as an example, Tina, the female energy, we always respected the female energy.
Right.
That is why we call Mama Amakosigazi, meaning that they are greater, than the king. Other nations, like white people, they don't have, that concept, that we have. So, some of these things, things that we learned on the way during our, colonization, and then they were then infused into our culture, which is why we need to, make a clean some of these things, and that can be done as a collective of African people to say, this is, something that we adopted after colonization. Right. It wasn't there, before.
Yeah, so the bastardization of so many cultures. Sam, in the Val, you have something to say?
Yes, so Ngiyaphila ndiyakhona.
Thank you so much, Ngiyaphila.
Thank you. Ndifuna nje ukwazi man kule topic interesting endlela yesintu uba what is the difference between amasiko nezithethe?
Amasiko nezithethe. Did you get that? Thank you so much. Ubaba Nsingiza?
I think that's what amasiko ahambelana neculture yethu. As I was explaining, then ithethe ke ifana nani ke mhlambe kunomsebenzi la ekhaya where manje kumele nibize amakhanda alomuzi ukuthi nizo addressa wona, you are coming to address them, ithethe lezo, meaning ukuthi ifana nani nezibongo, I could say, because mina ngesizulu sithi ibongo suke sibongelela inhloko amakhanda lomuzi lo. So ithethe ke namasiko ziyahambelana because kusiko lwethu. It is our a tradition that before we slaughter any animal, there's got to be a message which is delivered to the ancestors to say, with the life of this goat or whatever, we are requesting this to happen in this family.
So, Ubaba Nsingiza, you said earlier on, la elokishini abantu sebakhohliwe amasiko, people don't practice these things. I would argue it's not true. I go to weddings, I go to funerals. People basakhuluma indaba zeyibongo nezithakazelo. In fact, we've even seen so often young people who find an opportunity or learn about their family trees and then wake up and say, I'm changing my name. I was raised in Mbele, but it turns out I'm a Hlongwane. I want to now be called uHlongwane. People feel this need to get back to basics. Certainly that's what I've seen.
No, certainly, because remember, we were talking about Izithakazelo. La elokishini Izithakazelo seyikhona ukuthi mhlambe mawu Oscar, Oskido because of the things that you've done. But asakhulumi ngalokho. Emakhaya, it's a completely different thing. You get somebody okhula naye that you grew up with, for them to actually, put it down, your life story. Explain everything that you are.
Give you credit for what you are.
Yes. And even if you've messed up, Izithakazelo will actually tell us were you a warrior or were you just a coward.
Okay.
So it's a completely different, like lokshina. Yes, ibongo abantu are going back to there. In terms of understanding, because Izibongo goes with your history.
Yes.
Your personal history. Ukuthi mina ngizalwe kulesibongo. Lesibongo sisuka kuphi?
Got you.
Amakhosi axhumane nalesibongo obani.
Got you.
So that is what you need to understand.
And a final question, although we've got a lot of calls coming through, but I'll take your call, Decolonizing in Magoebaskloof.
Hi, how are you, Lerato?
Fine, thank you, May.
I'm good. I wanted to find out from Mkhulu, as somebody who went to almost like a school with white teachers where you almost get lost in it, being taught Christianity, and when you come home, they practice culture, and you sort of feel lost between the two worlds. How would Mkhulu actually advise new age families going forward with the culture and tradition and Izithakazelo?
Beautiful
question.
question.
It's not demonic and it's not evil.
Beautiful question, Decolonizing.
Oh yes, remember, this is part of colonization. Colonization, it means go to you disempower people. How do you disempower people? By disconnecting them from their natural energy. And how do you do that? By speaking bad about people's culture, so that they end up feeling inferior, when they are doing that culture. So it's part of colonization that we still suffer, as African people. That is why it's important for us to actually embark on a decolonization, program as African people, just to know who we are. What is our history? What did we do before colonization, came here?
I love it, and that's a poignant place to leave it. Let's deconstruct the mind. Thank you to Mkhulu, Nsingiza. Thank you to all of you who've called through. This has been a beautiful, enlightening, illuminating, affirming Power Talk.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe